Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for FPL content around the globe. Here we are, I'm wearing the Arsenal shirt because I captained Aubameyang. What a day it was for me yesterday. What a day indeed. 32 points from one player. You just can't go wrong with that, can you really? Just to let you know, I'm recording this video before the Sheffield against Spurs game and the Liverpool against Man City game. So some of this information is maybe a little bit outdated, subject to change. I have tried to avoid those teams as talking points as much as possible, and we can talk about that a little bit more next week. But still plenty to talk about. So today I've got for you Manchester United assets, what we do with them. Do we need all three? Which three? We're going to be talking about strikers again. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about chip strategy, because I know a few of you have a few chips left and might want a little bit of advice how you're going to use them. I'll try and help you out the best I can. And then finally we're going to talk about captains, the most important decision of your game week, as I learnt yesterday. Still very, very pleased with that, as you might be able to tell. If this is the first time you're seeing my face on FPL Mate, please do stick around. Please do subscribe. Plenty of FPL content. Always loads and loads of videos. I'm doing like 3-4 videos a week. Pick and choose what you like to watch, and you can have it all here. So let's get into it. Starting off with Manchester United. So, Bruno Fernandez absolutely smashed it this week against Brighton, as we know, 15 points. Martial, the week before, absolutely smashing it with his hat-trick. Wan-Bissaka getting loads of points as well. We got an assist in both games. And then we've got Rashford, a couple of assists. Greenwood absolutely smashing it. But we know that they're doing really well. Manchester United are scoring tons of goals, and they've got really, really good fixtures. I mean, look at this fixture list. It's absolutely mad. They've got stuff to play for. They've got to be really driven. They're going to be playing full strength every single week, and they're really going to be going for it. And look at the players that we've got on offer, all at a really good price as well. Then there's no players that are like sort of out of your reach financially, so they're all really good prices as well. So it's all about now picking the right three, and I do think it's got to be three. If you've only got one or two right now, the moves you want to be making is to get these Manchester United players in. I think that's got to be your priority, no matter where you are. Get the third Man United player in. So let's start off with the players who I think are the big three you need, and they're the three I own, and I'm very happy I own them as well. And that's Bruno Fernandes, Martial, and Wan-Bissaka. Bruno Fernandes, just a creative force, slightly played down by Pogba's arrival, but he's still the ticking heartbeat of the team. He doesn't get the best chances, but he can score from anywhere by the looks of things. He can score from outside the box. His technique is impeccable, and he's always got the ball. He takes plenty of shots. I think it's a shot every 21 minutes, which is absolutely mad for a midfielder. So he's going to be really important for everyone. And I think if you've got him, just keep him. Don't even worry about if he gets the occasional blank, because he might get the occasional blank. But we've seen the very week after, he's got a 15-pointer. So he is going to be amongst the points every single week. Martial is going to really be benefiting from having Pogba and Bruno Fernandes behind him. These two pure, exciting, creative, driving forces can only be a good thing for Martial. I know Martial was a little bit quiet against Brighton, which is a little bit disappointing for those of us who brought him in for that game week, which was a bit of a knee-jerk anyway, to be fair. But Martial, I think he really is the next best option after Bruno Fernandes. I don't really see there being much competition there. Just because he's an out of position striker. He is getting plenty of he has got plenty of goals. It may not be on an insane level, but it is still is a really nice amount of goals, and he's got really good expected goal stats and stuff like that, and shots and stuff like that ever since the break. And I think he's just really going to benefit from Bruno and Pogba behind him from here to the rest of the season, really. And then finally, the third best, in my opinion, has got to be Aaron Wan-Bissaka, just because the clean sheet potential with United is very clearly there. So it's then a case of, let's try and get a little bit more out of this. And Wan-Bissaka playing very high up the pitch, making overlapping runs, making plenty of crosses, sometimes making inverted runs even. Like I said in the previous video, there was a point in the game against Brighton where Aaron Wan-Bissaka was literally the closest player to Ryan, the Brighton goalkeeper. He was the closest player there in an attack because he was just bombing so far forward. I think Igalo was on at the time, and Igalo had actually dropped to sort of a second striker behind Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I know it was only briefly, but it's still very positive to see a fullback getting in those positions when typically we think of Aaron Wan-Bissaka as a very defensive fullback. He's been coming into himself a little bit and getting up the pitch, and although the assist may be, you might want to call it lucky, but he was there, he was making the passes, he was amongst and involved in the attacks to be there, and then the assist the week before, you can't really complain about that. He got the cross in and he got the assist, so yeah, I think he's really, really important. Next players, sort of the tier below that you could consider, but I don't think by any means essential, is Greenwood. Greenwood, just for his price and the fact that he takes up a striker slot, which I know people say, well, you want to keep your striker slots free, but you know that's not the case right now, is it? Really, there's no many good strikers, which we'll be talking about in a minute. But just hold that thought. So Greenwood, great for his price. He is going to be sharing minutes with Dan James, however, and I don't expect him to start against Bournemouth either. So I'm not sure this week is the week to bring in Greenwood, but certainly one to consider for the future. Next up is Rashford, and I know loads of people seem to be hyping up Rashford, but people complain about Aubameyang playing basically as a left back. Did you watch Rashford against Brighton? He was behind Luke Shaw pretty much the whole game. Rashford was playing as a left back. I'm sorry, he was, and that's why he didn't get any involvements. He's not really had much goal threat, direct goal threat. It's more assist potential that he has playing off the wing. But why would you have a striker who's actually playing in midfield when you can have a midfielder who's actually playing up front? So when it comes to a toss-up between Rashford and Martial, it seems very obvious. Martial, out of position, he's playing in midfield, he gets more points for goals, he's cheaper, it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And for all of you hyping up Rashford, I hope you can explain to me what's going on in your brains. I would love to know. And then, I mean, I'm going on a little bit about Manchester United now, but other players, Luke Shaw, actually technically, statistically more creative than Wan-Bissaka and the same price, so worth considering as a bit of differential. Maguire, always a goal threat from headers and stuff like that, and brings in those clean sheets as always. And then players you can either take or completely take or leave, real sort of not that bothered about, is Pogba and Dan James, who Dan James is going to be coming on and off the bench. Pogba doesn't really offer as much as the other guys, so why would you have him? But differentials, if you really want to take a punt, wouldn't recommend it. But outside of that, just you're a lunatic if you go for any player outside of those players mentioned. So let's move on to strikers. There's not much going on. A lot of people have been asking me again this week, what strikers do I bring in? I'm not happy with my strikers, and you shouldn't be. Nobody is right now. Jiménez is a keep. We've been over him enough right now. But after that, there's only two players that I'm looking at right now thinking, oh, maybe I'd quite like to have that player up front in my team. And that is Jesus, purely because there's no other recognised striker in the Man City team right now. And when Aguero's out, Jesus plays. I know he had a minor injury for that last game, so he didn't play. But we expect him to play now pretty much most games. I don't see why he wouldn't. And for an insane Manchester City team with insane fixtures. So Jesus is sort of top of my wish list at the moment. Him and Mahrez. But I think Jesus actually pips him a little bit. If not for anything, because, you know, I need to fill up an attacker's slot. Kane, I do quite like the look of. He seems to be at the centre of Spurs attacks. I do prefer Kane at the moment to Son, so do have a look at him if you can afford him. But Jiménez, Jesus, and Kane is so much money in attack. Well, actually, I feel like you're better off just spending the money in midfield. So other options is Ings. Is he? I mean, he has been playing game in, game out, but will that continue? His fixtures now are pretty tough, but he can score them. Ings doesn't need a good chance to score a good goal. That's what we know about Ings. Greenwood, I've spoken about before, just because of his price, he's definitely worth a look in, but not guaranteed to start every game. And then you've got Giroud or Abraham for Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea haven't got bad fixtures. It might be worth bringing one of them in, but are they going to rotate? I'm not really sure I like the look of that. And then Calvert-Lewin, who a lot of us own. I own him personally. and he's not scored yet. He's not really passed the eye test, but statistically, he's looking not bad. He's taking so many shots. I think he's set something like second for shots since the break. So I don't know. I feel like he's due a goal, so I'm going to hold on to him. But I wouldn't blame him if you didn't hold on to him. You might lose patience of him. But I don't know. Against Spurs this week, Spurs typically not great in defence. Although I don't know if that's going to change. You know, Calvert-Lewin due a goal, so I'm going to be holding on to him. But like I say, don't blame me if you don't. So let's move on, and we'll do a quick chip strategy. Easy for me to say. I know I can't really go into this by too much. I'm going to have to be very, very general because all your teams are going to be different. All the chips that you have are going to be different. So I can't tell you a specific game week to use it on and what players to have, etc., etc. But wildcard, I would say use sooner rather than later, or in game week 37, because you can create something and then use another one of your chips. So if you've got a bench boost, for example, you might want to use a wildcard 1 week and then you bench boost the next week, something like that, so you can create a good bench boost team. Other than that, just use it sooner than later because you want to take advantage of having the best team possible for as many weeks as possible. Load up on those Man United players, those City players, those Wolves players, all that jazz. And perhaps ship out some Liverpool players if you don't think they're going to be playing week in, week out, which I don't. So that is a tactic you can use there. Just use it sooner rather than later. But it depends how good your squad is now, how happy you are with it. If you've got a good squad, just save it. There's no point using it for no reason. But if you've got sort of like 4 or 5 changes you want to make all at once, or you've got your eye on some players, you know, sooner rather than later, and take advantage and get the most out of it, out of your wild card. Free hit, I think, has got to be used on the last game of the season, because you get early team news, so you're going to know everyone who's going to be starting, so you can just make sure you've got the absolute players who are definitely starting. So all games start at the same time on the same day on the last day of the season. So early team news will apply for all teams. So it's definitely something to be looking for. There'll also be a lot to play for. So there'll be big games, there'll be small games, there'll be games where teams have nothing to play for. They might put out teams typically play last games of the season as like sort of exhibition games, if you like. If they haven't got anything to play for, they might chuck in a load of youth team players. Just to give them a little bit of experience. So you can sort of take advantage of that and look who's got something to play for, who's got to escape relegation, who's got to challenge for Champions League, who is going for the top scorer Golden Boot award, and those kind of the players that you'll be looking to bring in. And you can just do that all in a free hit all at once, and just go in on it. Triple captain, pick a player basically. I think just pick a player that's likely to start against either Norwich, Bournemouth or West Ham. I think those are the 3 whipping boys that we're targeting at this very moment. That can very quickly change, but right now those are the players the teams we want to be targeting. So pick a premium player playing against those teams. For example, you could go for a Bruno or a Martial against Bournemouth this week, or West Ham in game week 37. And then for City, you might choose KDB, and you might like the look of him against Bournemouth in game week 36, or even nicer, Norwich in game week 38. But perhaps by that time, teams might not have as much to play for, so you might change your mind as well. So that's the sort of thinking you need to be going in for it with. For a triple captain, I would also say don't go differential unless you don't really care, you're just having fun with it. If you've given up, or you're so far behind in the ranks that you just want to take a random punt, don't go differential, because the triple captain is the differential. Even if every other person in your mini league or in the world has got this player captain, you're the one with triple captain. You're the one who's getting the extra points from this player. So triple captain is always a differential, other than in very extreme circumstances, I'm sure. And then finally, bench boost. Build a decent bench. Make sure you get a cheap playing goalkeeper such as Emi Martinez at Arsenal or McCarthy at Southampton. So make sure you've got that, maximise the bench points. And then identify a week where your bench has decent fixtures. It's going to be different for everyone. But if you have a week, for example, where you're actually not sure, should I play this player or should I play this player? Who should I bench? Who should I have on the pitch? Then that's probably a good sign that perhaps this is your bench boost week, especially if there's 2 players that you've got on your bench and you're sort of thinking, actually, maybe I should be playing them. That means it's bench boost time. So that's really the best advice I can give you then, rather than a specific game week, because it's going to be different for everyone. I think game week 37 looks good for a lot of people for a bench boost, as does game week 33 this game week. So, but overall, it's going to be different depending on who you are. So, finally, let's do the captaincy picks. The most important decision of the game week. Let's go. So, my number one choice is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno, arguably interchangeable with Martial, depending on how you want to look at it. It's difficult because Bruno's hauling one week, Martial's hauling the next week. There's an argument to say just pick one and stick with him because you don't really know who's gonna do it. But Bruno, I do have a lot of faith in. He's joint top for goals since the break with 3. He's 5th highest expected goal involvement at 1.85, and he's outperforming that as well, which you do sort of expect him to outperform it. Although he did get the penalty, which buffs his goal involvement expected quite a lot, but he does outperform it. He takes shots outside the box, sort of thing. He scores good goals, and he plays some really nice passes as well, which he hasn't been looking so good at recently. With Pogba coming in, his creativity for providing chances for other players, direct chances anyway, has sort of dropped off a little bit, but I still do trust him, and he's taking a shot every 21 minutes, as I said earlier. So, really, really good. So, other than the fact he's sharing assist potential with Pogba, that's the only concern about him. I'm still fairly confident that Bruno can do the business. And, midfielder, 1 extra point for clean sheet. Double that's 2 points, and it could make the difference. You never know. As for Bournemouth, they're 2nd for goals conceded since the break. That's 7 goals conceded in 3 games. And the teams they've played are Palace, Wolves, and they conceded 4 against Newcastle as well. So these are not teams that score big typically, and yet Bournemouth have absolutely been rolled over by them. So it does look like Bournemouth have become whipping boys and are perhaps set to go down because they're not looking good at all. And Bournemouth also 4th in the league for big chances conceded since the break as well. So they're conceding plenty of big chances. So yeah, something to look out for there as well with Bruno and Martial. Martial especially with the big chances. Bruno doesn't need the big chances so much, but it could happen. 2nd is Kevin De Bruyne. Now I'm not going to go on about why Kevin De Bruyne is brilliant, because this whole season in FPL, all we've been talking about is how brilliant is KDB. We know he's amazing. So let's talk a little bit more about Southampton instead. So a lot of people have been sort of questioning Southampton. Not bad defensively, are they? Maybe they can actually shut out Man City a little bit, and perhaps it won't be such a big score for Man City boys. To that I say nay. I say Southampton have the worst home record in the entire league. They have the worst home form anywhere in the Premier League. They've lost 10 games out of their 16 home games. They've conceded 33 goals at home as well in those 16 games, and you don't need a calculator to work out. That's over 2 goals per game they're conceding at home. Away, they're a different beast entirely. I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you there at all. But when they're at home, they just don't seem to do it. So crack on with KDB. Crack on with whatever Man City boy you want. If you want to go for a little bit of a differential, you could go for Jesus or Mahrez. But KDB seems like the safe pick for me, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And then finally, Salah. This is another one where a lot of people are going to be looking at this. Perhaps players who aren't as engaged with FPL. So this is your opportunity really to not captain Salah. But I'm going to talk about him anyway because it is Salah. I'm waffling. Let's actually talk about him. So Villa have switched to a far more defensive system. They've only conceded 22 shots in the box since the break. They've only conceded 3 big chances, which is not actually a lot. And the expected goals conceded is 2.97, which is the 2nd best in the league. This is since the break. So they've looked so much better defensively, and you only have to watch them to see that. The problem is, a lot of people were thinking, oh, I remember Aston Villa. Before the break, they were rubbish, weren't they? They must be rubbish now. They're not. And I've said this so much on this channel, and I've warned people against captaining against Aston Villa. I know a lot of people captain Jiménez against Villa. I said on Twitter, I said it on YouTube, I say be wary of this one. This is not going to be a goal fest, and it wasn't. And for that reason, I don't think this will be a goal fest. Liverpool against Villa. That said, this is Liverpool. This is not Wolves. This is Liverpool on a different level. This is Salah who's chasing golden boot. Slight rotation risk, which is another reason why I might avoid Salah. But Klopp the romantic, as everyone is saying, he's gonna help get Salah the golden boot. it could be an opportunity. Villa could fall apart against an excellent Liverpool team, but if Liverpool are rotating, they might not perform as well. Liverpool don't perform as well when they do rotate, so that is something to think about. So I'm very wary about captaining Salah, and I don't think I'll be going anywhere near Liverpool captaincy this week. But I know a lot of people do think this is Salah, this is Liverpool. It doesn't matter who they're playing against, they're going to bang, and there is absolutely truth in that, and I cannot blame you for captaining. But I do want to get the edge over people on this one by not captaining a Liverpool player. So yeah, for me it's between Martial, Bruno Fernandez and KDB. Those are the ones I'm looking at, and I'm not really going to look outside of that at all, really. So there you go. That's it. Those are the captains. That's everything this game week. This has been a fairly long video, hasn't it? I can only apologise, but I did start waffling on a little bit. So much to talk about. I just get so excited about FPL. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like if it's helped you in any way. If you're new around here, as I say, please do consider subscribing. Aim to get 1,000 subscribers by the start of the new season, which I think is so possible, but I can only do that with your help. Thanks again for watching, and I suppose I'll catch you on the next one, mates. Good luck in this game week, and see you all on 100 points or whatever we all get. Catch you later, guys.